Hello and welcome to another episode of the Two Medics podcast. My name is Imran Laska. I'm a consultant radiologist.
And hi, I'm Thrusha Gunawardena. I'm a cardiology registrar subspecialising in intervention.
But Thrusha, how have you been, mate? How's your week been?
Yeah, it's been good. I mean, it's been really good. I've been doing a lot of on-calls. I was telling you about it before, right? I'm getting through this whole... I mean, that's what I feel like I tell you about every week. But it's coming towards the end, like this. So this weekend I'm on call, so I'm just holding on for that. And then it's kind of some normal days for about 5 weeks. And I think the thing that's kind of bugged me the most about it is, if you factor in the fact that you're pretty tired after on calls, is that it's just kind of really interrupted my general routines. Like I haven't been going to the gym as much, and I've just been eating less well. And I think all of those things just kind of like get to me. And then I had 2 off days this week, and I thought it'd be a really smart idea to do my ALS because that's out of date, and obviously need that for my ARCP. Oh, I tweeted about that, didn't I? About ARCPs and how
you did, yeah.
And how so it costs 450 quid, but the HE budget will only reimburse us as of September this year for £275. They've worded it in some kind of mealy-mouthed way, but essentially it means that unless you've got a particularly kind of generous study leave coordinator person, it might actually be quite difficult to get that £450 reimbursed. But anyway, I did ALS, and one of the odd things about that, I guess, as a cardiology registrar, is that like when you turn up to ALS, everyone is like, "Oh, you're a cardiologist," like as if you perhaps see the whole thing as like below you or something, which I don't.
Oh, the show, mate. Yeah.
Mate, but like the thing is that I find that there's just way more pressure with it, because then everyone's like, you feel like you can't make a mistake, and also like people kind of tend to look to you for like answers and stuff. Anyway, it was quite fun. Like I quite like doing it. I quite like working on the leadership aspects of it. And so much about like arrest is about communication, and I definitely find that watching cardiac arrests and stuff. Oh my god, I've been talking for so long. But watching cardiac arrests, you get you get certain types though that are like really, really like loud and domineering, and I never really liked them. And I always kind of felt like my style was never going to be like the shouty, like, "Oh, you do this and you do that," and I'm just not like that kind of person. So the way, if I have to like lead arrests, it's very different. But it went well. But I'm tired. Yes. But looking forward to this episode. So this has kept me going. How about you, man? How have you been?
Yeah, fine. Anyway, so
sorry, man. God.
It's right that time. We're yes. Talking, and you took it all. So there's nothing more for me to say.
Oh man. Jeez.
No, I'm good. Kids are going to be on half term soon, so that always stresses me out. Like, what on earth am I going to do with them? I don't feel like a great parent at half the time, and then when they're around more, I feel like less of a good parent.
It's like highlighted, spotlight.
There's just more opportunities to mess up. That's what happens. You get more opportunities to mess up and not do quite the right thing and say the wrong thing and get told off by everyone.
Do you have any big plans for them?
Yeah, I think we're going to go. I've got an Airbnb for a few days.
Nice.
I told you I've got a bit of a business thing to do somewhere up in the UK. So I'm going to take them with me and just have them with me, and they'll have a bit of a holiday while I do the odd bits and pieces that I need to do up there. And then, it'll be nice. And then maybe next week we've got a mutual friend who's in Brighton. So I've been thinking about him.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been thinking about it, but I haven't actually asked them, so I don't even know if they're free. But it's something I'm thinking about. So I think maybe the next week I'll do something like that. But anyway,
we're meeting up, aren't we? On Monday.
Yes, we are. I mean, we can talk about that. Yeah, we're meeting up on Monday. Are we allowed to say with who or not?
I don't know.
Just us two. Okay, fine.
Yeah,
it's just us two, as far as you're not aware. So yeah, find it good to meet up. I still can't give you your custard, and by I mean custard, I mean actual custard ice cream, because it's going to melt by the time I get there. And but I could give you DVD back. Finally, I finally.
Did you? Yeah. So Ghostbusters Afterlife. Do you like it?
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It didn't have that magic of the first one. I don't think anything will ever have the magic of the first one, in truth. But it was still a very, very watchable thing, and it kind of had a lot of sort of nods to the original. Not that I'm a huge fan, but it was good.
Did you watch it with the kids?
They did, yeah. They did get a bit scared, and I think for a while, my little boy kept saying that Ghostbusters are coming. But when he said Ghostbusters coming, he meant it in terms of a ghost is coming, not the Ghostbusters. Because the Ghostbusters coming would be a good thing, right? Yeah. But not for him. The Ghostbusters.
Oh, sorry, man.
But no, it's all good. Like whatever, he needs to chill out, that kid.
Mate, anyway. Lils. After we watched that, I actually kind of got into it in like a big way. And there's the original song. The original song is just so amazing. And I maintain that those kind of films, and even the TV shows from like the 80s, like Thundercats or like the X-Men theme tune, or like all of those theme tunes are just so iconic that. And I just don't. These days, like shows don't have like the same kind of theme tunes, and it's just not. It's just amazing. And she would, when we were driving in the car, she'd literally want to hear the Ghostbusters theme tune just again and again and again, to a point where Joe was like, I can't stand that song any longer. But it was
It's good, man. She got into. I mean, it's a great thing. It's a great song. I mean, they don't make theme songs like that anymore. No. Cool. So we should move on to. Well, I think it kind of falls in quite nicely with our new sponsor. So those of you that are watching this on the YouTube video will see that we're both wearing t-shirts for a company that's going to be sponsoring us for the next few episodes called Manscaped. Manscaped. If you haven't heard of Manscaped, you're going to know Manscaped now. And the thing is, we're going to dedicate this part of the episode to Manscaped because it's pretty much going to be the balls up of the week. So the balls up of the week. Who should it go to, Thrusha? Who should it go to? Who do you think it should go to?
Definitely, just a complete outlier, way out in front. It's got to be Bart's Hospital and their social media campaign, right?
Exactly.
Oh my gosh.
So how does this relate to Manscaped? I should probably tell you before we go into this, no? I should probably say.
Yeah.
So, first of all, got to say thank you for Manscaped. They are basically specialising in below-the-waist grooming, for those of you that don't know. They've got products that are precisely engineered tools for your family jewels.
It's so on brand, isn't it? I mean, like, obviously, when you think of us, like two of us, the two, you think of, like, balls. Is that what it was?
I mean, yeah, that's my. I mean, actually, I thought of Jamie and Chris actually, but anyway. So they've actually got this package which they sent to us, didn't they, Thrusha?
Yeah.
Called the Performance Package with an Ultimate Men's Hygiene Bundle. You can join over 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped with this exclusive offer. So we've got actually a 20% discount, free worldwide shipping, if you type in 2medics when you go to manscaped.com. So I think part of why I've actually started using the products over the last few days since we've got it, and I've got to say I'm quite impressed. I mean, I've had a few blades over the years because of I had to go smooth sometimes, and I've got to say, I don't know, Thrusha, what did you think? This was a decent piece of kit. It looks very
nice, it looks really cool. It's like I have noticed now, like I think companies do take a special bit of extra kind of attention to presentation boxes and stuff. Like when you get your iPhone or whatever. And I do think that the kit does look really nice. Like one thing I've got to say is that the trimmer, it has like a USB charger and a nice kind of cradle, which I think is quite cool because when I've used like electric razors before, I found it really annoying. That kind of bathroom weird socket plug thing, and you have to get like an adapter for it. It's really annoying. So it's quite nice. Like it's got a charger cradle, but it's got its own kind of chargeable battery, and the presentation box is all very swish. I really liked it. How did you find? So, I mean, you obviously get very sweaty balls. So, how have you?
Well, I mean, one more thing I've got to say. It's got this 4000K LED. I didn't even know 4000K. It's just got an LED. I'm sorry, but that I know I live in dark rooms most of the time, but having an LED light in that particular situation is very, very
you want to see you don't want to miss, do you? You don't want to miss. You want to see where you're going.
Exactly. So I was talking to Thrusha and some of the guys actually recently that I've been doing a bit of high intensity exercise recently, and I have been finding that things aren't as fresh as they could be. And we were also sent some crop preserver, which is basically a ball deodorant, and a ball toner, and I have to say, it feels pretty fresh.
Oh, good.
So you got a Lawnmower 4.0, which is a really great little trimmer, which has been very, very good. Talk about the crop preserver ball deodorant, the crop reviver toner, and the boxes are very good, which I've used in the gym, and you've got a travel bag as well. Got to say, this lawnmower thing it sounds really weird when they call it a lawnmower, but it is a phenomenal trimmer. It's a 4th generation trimmer. It's got some sort of, I know you don't want to hear about this, but it's got a cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce the grooming accidents thanks to the advanced skin safe technology. Interesting.
And it's waterproof. That's good.
It's waterproof, right? So anyway, there's also something called the Weed Whacker, something to look into, which is also waterproof. So if you are interested in checking out the blades, boxes, the t-shirts, do check out manscaped.com and use the 2medics code for 20% off.
Yeah, we should get into Bart's in a second, but I do feel like kind of like male grooming is something that isn't really, it's still not quite, in the kind, well, I mean, it's not like cis het men need more voices, but it's weird how kind of like oddly uncomfortable talking about grooming kind of makes people. And I remember like it's something that I definitely felt like really ashamed about, and I used to feel like really, really insecure like about being naked with like girlfriends and stuff. I always felt like I had to prepare people. Like if I was dating someone, I felt like it was kind of something that I'd have to like get out there before like before any nakedness occurred, because I would have been so like crushed to like, because I'm just like really hairy, as you'll know, and so like the whole idea of it was like it was terrifying. It was terrifying for me, and it really bothered me. And so I used to, I mean, for jiu-jitsu and stuff anyway, I tried different things. Like I used to kind of I used to wax, and sometimes I used to shave. But one of the things that used to really happen with me, and I don't feel like people talk about it that much either, is like ingrown hairs. That was like a really like big thing for me. Like I'd have to like, I remember like a girlfriend at the time, like plucking kind of ingrown hairs that I'd get after like being waxed. It was awful. But like, I feel like, and with pilonidal sinuses and stuff that people get, like, I feel like that's just kind of like a hush thing. And like people, like it's a bit of like there's a bit of a shame about it. So I do think it's quite cool that we're like approached to like be sponsored by these guys, because it does mean that it gives us the opportunity to talk about something that maybe like most guys don't do like openly. So yeah, like that's quite cool.
I completely agree, because I think it is a bit hush hush, and even us trying to do this little segment does feel a little bit weird and a bit uncomfortable. But then you actually ask yourself why, because it is something that we should be doing, should be thinking about, if you want to, and why should you be embarrassed about it? To get 20% off, free shipping with the code 2medics at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com. Use the code 2medics, unlock your confidence, and always use the right tools for the job with Manscaped.tm.
Nice.
So coming back to the Balls Up, which is dedicated to manscaped.com. Balls Up was got to be Bart's, hasn't it? This week, the Balls Up was Bart's. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it? How did you feel? How did you feel? Okay,
mate, angry. And I think,
and how did you feel?
With these things, I think it's like the perfect storm for a mid Twitter storm, which is that about a week before, I think they'd scrapped a whole load of, they put a whole load of caps on like locum pay or overtime pay, and basically there were lots of members of staff who were kind of striking in protest of these kind of changes to pay. And so there was that, which kind of did the rounds on mid-Twitter. And then after that, there was this video that was posted on TikTok. And it was from like these Bart's kind of Canary Wharf offices. And they were pretty much showing the offices for the admin staff, which were amazing. Amazing! So they go, things in our office that just make sense. And so they had well-being rooms on each floor. They had coffee machines, Sage Barista touch machines that cost over $1,000.
Yeah, exactly. That's way more than $1,000. Yeah.
Snacks. Yeah. And there's a little sign that said, "No problems today, please." Can you imagine if we as doctors had that? Amazing views, obviously. I mean, it was just, I think, given the kind of context that we already had, so we knew that they were kind of striking colleagues and stuff, overpay. And then there was this video just showing, conversely, the kind of the situation for the admin staff. It was received understandably very, very badly. What did you think of it when you saw it?
I mean, do you think people were jealous through it? Was that the issue?
Well, I mean, there's got to be a bit of jealousy when you think about it, right? I mean, there were some takes on it which were terrible. I thought some really terrible takes on it. But I think what it comes down to is if the working conditions for allied health professionals, doctors and nurses were good, then I think people would have no issue with what the admin staff are doing. People would not care. But the thing is that when you see how the people who, how they can get access to money to kind of focus on their well-being, and how that seems to have happened there, why it does make you ask the question, why can't that be the case for everyone else?
Yeah, I mean, my opinion really is, I mean, obviously, watching was difficult to watch. I mean, they were trying to make it all jokey and be like, "Oh yeah, this is great. Look at us, we're awesome." It was difficult to watch because obviously you guys may know that my wife used to work in the city, and when I used to go visit, I always used to feel like, man, these guys have got it really nice. They got like wonderful offices. Everything's really clean. Everything's really cool. Even the restaurant area is lovely. All that kind of stuff was just really, really nice. And then it was like, okay. And I think that's never going to exist in the NHS. It's such a shame because it would make it a really nice place to work. And then suddenly, boom, there it was right in front of my eyes. Like it does exist in the NHS, but not for it doesn't work. It doesn't occur in where we are as clinicians and healthcare professionals on the shop floor, as it were. But the thing is, I guess using because we've got Manscaped as our sponsor, the NHS do have doctors by the balls, really, don't they? One better phrase, right? They do, because with the admin staff, if they want to leave, they leave. Like, there's no training program or anything like that. They're not going to get shipped around. If they don't like it, they just go. That's just the way it is. And I think someone once joked with me. He said to me, the reason why you find it so difficult to get things done, and I'm not saying this about all healthcare or admin, but he was like, look, if anyone is any good at like the IT and stuff, they'd be working for Google. They wouldn't be here. So just take that with a pinch of salt. That's why it takes so long to solve things, do things, sort things out. And so when you're kind of thinking about that, you start thinking about how do you retain, people. And from their point of view, they're trying to make it compete with it looked like Google, didn't it? It looked like some sort of Google Office. But just to talk a little bit more, what was interesting was that if that was a Google Office, we wouldn't have thought anything of it. If that, and it just shows you the expectation that we've now become accustomed to, that is what is expected from the private sector and the tech industry and Silicon Valley and all that. That's not something that is normal for healthcare professionals. But it should be, shouldn't it? But at the same time, I don't think we value human life as much as we do those things. We're not in a situation where human life is valued to the same level as the new app, the new gadget, the new whatever they're up to. And there's nothing you can really do about that at this present time. And I think it's an own goal by Bart's. It really was, because you can't be doing local cuts and all the rest of it on one side, and then showing off about your swanky offices, which are what in Canary Wharf. For what reason though? Where's Bart's and where's Canary Wharf? What's that about?
Exactly. I think people felt like the money is there, but where's the will though to like improve the situation for junior doctors? And the things that like Mehul did a nice little breakdown of all the issues with it. Yeah. But one of the things that really struck me was there was one bit where it talked about like the curved screens that they use. Like I don't know what the point of the curved screens is, but sometimes it's so difficult to even find a computer to use, like, and a space to sit down in front of it. And then when you do find that computer, often it's on, Windows XP or some kind of 10-year-old or older operating system that takes an age to open up. And, so much time is wasted. And it makes you feel like those kind of inconveniences to you, which are then kind of framed as like your problem though, those inconveniences mean nothing. Like your time, the time that you spend sat waiting for that thing to load up is worth nothing, or people don't care that that's what you're doing, and so I think that's why there's a lot of hate. But did you see some of the responses? Some of the responses were amazing. They're like, "We've done a freedom of information request. Yeah. We want to know exactly how much was spent," and it kind of went a bit. And like they were like, "Oh, admin staff, they shouldn't, they shouldn't have." And it's like, well, that's not what we're saying. But that's how quickly kind of narratives get derailed, right? They're like, no, like it's not necessarily what we're saying. We're just like the impetus is there to make it better for the admin staff, right?
I mean, the freedom of information stuff, look, it's one of the situations where you kind of know, you don't need to really get freedom of, what's the point? You know what's happened. It's like, when Boris Johnson had those parties and stuff, did anyone really think he was going to go to jail? Like, really? We're talking about the prime minister of the country, man. They were going to do every little shimmy, every little thing under the sun because of who he is. And it's the same thing here. Like, there's going to be people in the admin, there's going to be people very high up who are not going to want this to go any further, get any bigger than it is. It's already gone far too much if it has gone that far anyway. I know in the MedTwitter community it was a big deal, but I'm not sure how big of a public deal it was in the end. So, they're going to stall for as long as possible till people even forget. That's just, you should know. So what's the point? Use energy somewhere else by trying to campaign and get pay restoration. I say pay rise personally. But anyway, you guys want to go for pay restoration, you guys go for that. And just get better working conditions for everyone, because that's what we deserve. We're worth more than that. And I keep saying that. We're worth far more than they lead you to believe. And I think Mehul was completely right in a lot of his takes, when they were showing, wonderful coffee machine, but you lot can't have coffee on the wards. Yeah. Don't be seen to be having coffee, because you'd be slackers if you did that. You're a slacker. And that kind of, it's just a bad ethos, isn't it? In general, it gives you bad vibes about the place.
Absolutely. If you want, after us, but he's like, if you want a coffee, it's £3 from Costa if it's open. Blah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
talking about it was a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, wasn't it? Really, in truth. But that kind of brings us on to Liam Barker, who was talking about it might start med Twitter shitstorm, which it kind of did. Where do we stand on adult patients not being able to swallow tablets and insisting on liquid? So, Thrusha, do you swallow liquid or do you swallow tablets?
Uh, nice one. So it says, do
If I
we
was to
swallow?
give you a ball, like
Yeah.
landscape balls, yeah?
Yeah.
Would you swallow it, or would you
Look,
mush up to a bit of a liquid in the drink?
I don't want to I don't want to kind of tie my colours or my flag to a particular post on this one. I like to say that I'm very open-minded, and but I've got to say that I have no problem swallowing. So
Good. Yeah. I actually know this to be true.
yeah, exactly. So my reputation precedes me. But you know what? I have been taking quite a few different like supplements. I've been using like I'm not sure if I should if that counts as an endorsement, but it's something that I feel kind of might be beneficial to me. I've been using plant sterols. Do you use so like
Steroids,
I remember.
okay. Yeah.
So just to, if I used steroids and I was as tiny as this, then what a joke.
Yeah, I was about to say it's not doing
much, is it? Like it would be a great advert to not do steroids. Like do steroids and you look like me. Like no, don't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
No, plant sterols. I've been using them to kind of reduce my cholesterol. I just kind of figured it, it won't do any harm. But those tablets are huge. Oh my god, they're huge. And I swallowed. There's 3 of them. I take in one go, mate. Not a problem. But I do get it. Like you do. You see these patients who are like no, and they won't take the tablets if they're kind of too big, and so I don't see what the issue is. I didn't realize it kicked up a storm. What was the issue?
I guess it did kick up a bit of a storm, but I think a lot of this to do with the expectation of what you think an adult is and what an adult should be like, right? So clearly the expectation here is that adults should swallow and kids should drink liquid, right? I mean, that's what he's saying. But it's the same with the cannula, right? So if an adult says, "Oh, can you give me that cream so I don't get hurt?" You'd be like, "Oh, come on, mate. I mean, you're an adult, aren't you?
Right.
Like, why are you doing that?" But then with the pediatric patient, you're like, we've got to get the creams out. You've got to numb the whole area. It's the expectation of adults. But then I think as time goes on, you realize that you can't have a one size fits all. Some people, it just doesn't work for them. You know? Some people literally, I'm only doing steroid injections. They will, I'll tell you a story. So once this allegedly may have happened. I'm not sure if it did or didn't. So I did an injection into someone's hip, and they seemed fine afterwards. And I said, "Look, are you okay?" And he seemed all right. He goes, "I just don't like needles, mate." And I was like, "Okay, well, I've numbed the area as much as I could, and I did the procedure." And he still looked a bit pale. I was like, "Dude, are you all right?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm fine. And he walks out of my department, down the corridor, and just faints. And then everyone's screaming, and I look down the corridor and I thought, he's kind of a bit further. He's like a step beyond radiology, so it's not really my jurisdiction. So I think I'll go back to my room. Maybe not. No. That's terrible. No, there was honestly like the actual. What actually happened was that he did fall, and we at the time we had the ultrasound room in a ward. So as soon as he fell, he actually fell in. Probably better. You don't want to fall. If you're going to fall anywhere, don't fall in the radiology room. They fell in the middle of a ward, and so literally everyone pounced on him. And like, what on earth happened? And I had to be like, oh, it was me.
Yeah.
And they were like, what did you do? What did you do with that? And no, seriously, it wasn't that. It was just an injection to the shoulder. And it was just so like, oh man, why, bro? Why? I told you. I asked you if you were okay. Anyway. But yeah, it did kick a bit of a storm, didn't it? And then I think we've seen this kind of stuff where people, it sounded kind of a bit deliberate. They kind of kick a bit of a beef. But I saw somewhere that I didn't expect a beef to happen. Did you see that one, Therusha? I linked it in our thing. It says, what if we beefed in past med? You lot are nerds. I don't even know how to say. What if we beefed in past med comments section? Now, seriously, people. Why are you beefing each other like it's a Reddit post on PassMed? If I was running PassMed, I'd be like, what else is going on to PassMed? I mean, it's just PassMed. Why are we beefing each other about this? But no, people were getting very riled up. And then I think someone, I don't know, how should I read this? Am I missing something here? Why is this getting up?
No, you have to read the first. No, you've got to read the first comment. The first comment is,
okay, go on.
What are these made up conditions? Which is obviously a joke. They are, they're just like saying, oh, I've not heard of it. I'm not doing so well here. So they're saying, what are these made up conditions? And this is the response. Go. You have to read it in the appropriate voice as well.
Sorry.
Do the voice.
Am I missing something here? Why is this upvoted? What kind of attitude is this for a clinician? Putting this distasteful attitude to one side, this condition can be precisely and objectively diagnosed based on the concentration of microbes present at various points in the bowel. Finally, the role of microbiota in medicine. From its effect on mental health to chemotherapy efficacy is only gaining traction on the weight of evidence as we learn more. For me personally, whatever the point the person is trying to make fails at every junction. If it hasn't had all the upvotes, I wouldn't have bothered. And someone goes, my dog, you'd be dull at work.
Yeah, I know. Someone else is like, why is he stressing? Chill, man. Like, yeah, totally.
You know, actually, I remember one of my colleagues, they got a phone call from someone, and this person was blasting down the phone. And then they were really surprised, and they're looking, and they were just like, getting blasted. And then they said, you know what, yeah, you got no chill.
Fair enough.
That was it. You got no chill. It was true.
Yeah.
What do you even say to that? It was true. The person had no chill.
Like, I saw some of the replies as Ronan. So Renan Citron, he replied saying, "Let us not get started about that past med question about leptospirosis, where someone comments, this isn't a realistic vignette. We don't have sewage workers in the UK." That was the moment I realised some of my fellow students had absolutely zero clue about the real world. And it just, I think it's just funny. And the people who get upset about that kind of stuff, I don't know. What do they become in the end?
I don't know. I always find it funny, like what people get riled up about in general. I guess Twitter's the perfect arena for that kind of stuff, isn't it? Just
past med comment section.
Yeah, past med comments, mate. Honestly, like why are we even fighting about this? And what's going to happen? But I guess with YouTube comments and all that stuff as well, like I get the odd YouTube comment and TikTok thing coming at me, and like, yeah, all right, like chill out. It's just a silly video. But it seems as though you could trigger anyone with anything these days. And did you see this other one? And I really enjoy this one, possibly the Twitter moment. And then someone has basically done a video. Actually, looks like a very good picture of sandwiches here, and it's peanut butter and jam. Is it just a picture of peanut butter and jam sandwiches, or what do the Americans call it? Peanut butter and Jello?
No, jelly.
Jelly. Okay, peanut butter and jelly.
PB&J.
Wasn't that really bad? There was a YouTube video on that as well. Actually, let's not talk about that. No, I'll talk about that later.
Okay.
So it says and then so basically someone put a photo of some peanut butter and Jello sandwiches. And someone else wrote, to be honest, this is really insensitive. People have peanut allergies and gluten intolerances, and you're out here acting like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches are a universal experience. Now, I have no doubt that is 100% true, but is Twitter really the forum to have an argument about this kind of thing? I don't know, Trusha. What do you? This feels like an exaggerated version of the kind of arguments we have on Twitter a lot. Like just people get the wrong end of the stick and make it about something else.
It's crazy, isn't it? I think the thing is that I guess it kind of speaks to how there are some people who want their feed to kind of match their whole experience. And sometimes that's not possible. And other times it kind of says more about what you kind of want from social media. And that probably means you need to curate your own feed. And if those are people, if they're talking about stuff that you feel is like not related to you, then maybe you shouldn't follow them. But I think there are things that are kind of insensitive. And I think, it must be very hard if you've got a peanut allergy to hear about people who enjoy peanuts, I guess, or is it something that they're particularly bothered about? I don't know. Do people with peanut allergies go, oh, I really wish I knew what satay tastes like? Or do you kind of smell bacon and are you like, oh, I wish, like, do you care? Do you care about the smell of bacon?
No. I told you I actually had bacon the other day. Did I not?
Did you know? Yeah, you didn't tell me that. Oh,
no,
God.
I didn't tell you. No, it's so messed up, man. So I went to Jurassic. I told you to go to the Jurassic World thing in Central.
Oh yeah.
Where was it? I can't remember. But anyway, I went to this Jurassic World, which is phenomenal, by the way. Everyone, I'm not sponsored by them, but it was really, really good experience.
But they snuck bacon on you.
I love it. Well, yeah. I got bacon. So basically, what happened was, I went to the bagel shop and I said, look, is the chicken halal? And he goes, yeah, the chicken is halal, mate. Don't worry about it. I was like, okay, cool. I'll take that one over there. But he didn't tell me there's bacon in this thing. Oh. So I had chicken and he put a whole, I didn't even know. So then I was eating it and I thought, oh, that tastes a bit off, doesn't it? What is that? And I looked in and I was like, oh, it's bacon. How do you do this to me? And I have to say, I was disappointed, man.
Yeah, there you go.
All this time you think, oh, this must be really good. Like, I'm missing out on this. And I feel like, now I'm feeling like, I felt sick afterwards, genuinely.
But the point is,
like it at all.
But like, if you saw other people, like, I don't know, like, I wouldn't be like, oh, how dare you? And I don't know.
Yeah, but I don't know. But people are very sort of apologetic. Don't you think? Like when I'm sitting having dinner with you, I think you've done this where we've had dinner and said, do you mind if I drink? Why would I care if you drink? Or be something like that. Or is it okay if I eat this? It's like, you eat what you want, man. It's all good. But I think people can be quite sensitive or oversensitive to one another.
Yeah.
I don't know, people get triggered by these things, don't they?
I liked one of the replies, which probably like speaks for my soul, which was, "Hi, most annoying person you've ever encountered here. I noticed this post you wrote in 3 seconds doesn't line up with every experience I've ever had. This is extremely harmful to me, the main character of the universe." And I think it was quite a nice impression of them. Like,
that is good. That's very, very good. It's a nice way to put it through. I mean, the point is like not everything. Twitter's it's not a one size fits all, like we said, but other things, sometimes you just get tweets that don't quite fit with your universe, whatever you say that could be. And it's all right. Just move on. But that kind of brings me on to another really funny tweet that had me cracking up so much. So I wanted to Rabia, but she ignored me. So she said, Lins_1983. I think you put this one through, Sher. Do you want to say this one?
No, you do it, man. It's cool.
Okay. Today, whilst out shopping, I tried on a beautiful jacket. It was a jacket of a customer trying on another jacket, and now I can never go shopping again.
Can you imagine? What?
Yeah, I can imagine. That would be something I'd. When I said, "Is that something I'd do?"
Yeah.
I would
definitely. You'd be like, "Oh, it smells. It kind of smells interesting. Oh, it smells quite kind of perfumed."
It smells like a bit of ball toner.
What are you trying on? Maybe what are you trying on? But
yeah.
But yeah, fair enough. I could totally imagine doing it. And I just can you imagine the conversation afterwards. That person might be watching you, and you're like, "Oh, sorry.
Can I have my jacket back?"
Yeah, exactly. Like, what do you do? Oh, like that person's like, "Oh, okay, it's yours now." Like, cool.
It's such an awkward conversation, isn't it? It really is. I think I remember when I was younger, I used to just dress in tracksuit bottoms and t-shirts, and I was walking around Sports Direct, and people kept asking me where the stuff was. And I don't work in. I actually was a bit taken aback, and I was a little bit upset that I kept getting mistaken. Not that I've got anything against that, but I was like, I always thought that I was more quite fashionable. But then clearly, if I'm walking to Sports Direct and people mistaking me for someone working in Sports Direct, I'd be offended. But then a few years later, I was walking around Zara, and people kept confusing me for someone who works in Zara.
Oh, so that's not so bad. Cool. Yeah,
I feel like I've stepped forward. I think I've made it somewhere, right? Yeah. So no longer your conversation. Yeah.
There's quite a funny reply which said, "My wife invented the coat game at a wedding maybe. You wear someone's coat and take a selfie with the owner in the background. We have dozens of pictures. My favourite is me blowing a kiss to the owner of my temporary sequined bolero while she looked elsewhere." That's a bit weird, but I don't think I could.
It's a bit weird, but
that's like extroverts.
That's quite fun.
Yeah.
I'd be too embarrassed for that kind of thing. It'd be far too awkward. There was another tweet that was a bit awkward, kind of going slightly serious on this one a bit. So Sharon925, she said she went to a gynae appointment for a scan, and the male gynae attempted to force me 3 to 4 times to have an additional endometrial biopsy done, despite me saying a flat no. I felt belittled by his jokes that he would give me tea and scones afterwards. 1/2 West Part 2. Anyway.
God.
Yeah, I mean, sorry to make it slightly serious, but yeah, what do you think of this one? I feel like I've got a few things to say, but I'm not sure it will kind of quite go with the sentiment of what this person is feeling and saying.
I mean, I saw there was another one, and that I saw recently, which was about someone basically being cajoled into having a hysteroscopy, I think, and was it a hysteroscopy or it was some kind of I think it was like a vaginal procedure, and it was kind of without sedation or something, and it was by a male, and I just find it so bizarre that there are people who I just kind of wonder, like, what is it that is holding you back from giving a patient analgesia or sedation to kind of tolerate a procedure? Like, what is it? So what are you worried about, like anesthetic risks or whatever? But I think ultimately what they're doing is they're putting their own comfort over the patient's. And I think in that scenario, you've got it's a bit pathetic, really. And I think particularly, and so I mean, obviously this is from the flavor of like a male in a gynecological setting, and I think there really should be no excuse in that setting to kind of be sensitive to that. And I think it also speaks to the background of that person's experience, because how will they truly really appreciate how kind of painful these procedures are, and so therefore they should be extra careful. And so for this person to be like belittling the patient and talking about tea and scones afterwards, oh my god, I said scones and not scones. Oh god.
Maybe I said the same thing, I don't know. But Yeah, I don't really know where to go. I mean, the thing is, like, you always try and assume that the intentions are good behind the person trying to do the procedure in the first place. Like they said, they need another biopsy, and I assume they're trying to do the right thing.
Mm.
But I think that sometimes I think we. Do you remember in med school when we were going through med school, they always used to say, always give a balanced argument, give all the facts and all the pros and all the cons, and let the patient make a decision. But I've noticed that actually, sometimes inadvertently or subconsciously, we emphasize the pros if we would like we think that it is best for that person to get that procedure, even if they're scared or worried. You kind of push the pros over the cons. Have you noticed that, or have I kind of?
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I've noticed over the years. That I'm not sure that's entirely what happens, and I'm not saying that's what people are doing on purpose. I think that in trying to do what you think is the right thing, you kind of inadvertently purposely push forward the pros of all the procedure and kind of maybe not put so much emphasis on the negatives, and then the procedure happens and that kind of thing. So I think it's a difficult one, obviously based on the intentions of the person trying to do it, and then also the awkwardness of the situation must be that, like, we've all been in awkward situations where we might have said the wrong thing, and we were speaking earlier a little bit about sometimes when you do have a bit of an awkward situation with a patient, you end up kind of fumbling and dropping the probe and dropping the needle and all that kind of stuff just because you're nervous. And so, I mean, it's very difficult to know where this person's come from. But then I guess when you read it from the patient perspective, you realize like how difficult it is for everyone in that situation, isn't it?
Yeah, I think in those scenarios, I think it can be rectified by being in that scenario. That person, if it's coming from that place, I think you've got to just be open and as upfront as possible and be like, look, I'm worried that we might miss cancer or something important here. But as long as you understand that, or what you could do is, if this, was it because it was so painful? Is this, like there are kind of ways around it, I think, by being kind of honest and stuff. And I think people will respect that. But I think this person's gone down a different route, like kind of cajoling. It's cajoling, isn't it? Like, and it's coercive. And you're using a kind of power dynamic whereby you're implying that when you're kind of joking a person, like, or like using this kind of this shroud of humor, you're kind of implying it's like a different thing. You're implying that they're kind of a spoil sport or something. It's like weird. It's kind of like a strange tack to take. Whereas that it could have been taken, like they just didn't take the kind of sensitive track, which kind of tells me that there's a lack of empathy there, because you're not realizing that they're kind of them declining that is from a place of distress, even though you're kind of what you're doing is coming from a place of well-meaning. They're completely misreading that situation, and they shouldn't be in that scenario. Like if they're misreading that, they're not really appreciating the situation properly, I think. Is probably
No, I agree. It's difficult to. I think you're completely right that I think a lot of this is to do with communication. If you're just open and honest and say, look, the reason why I think it's good that we do another bit of this is because of this, and if they say no after that, then fair enough. Like you've told them exactly. Yeah. And it always reminds me of this. When I was in F1, I was working on the respiratory team, respiratory ward, and there was this man and it still sticks to me to this day. And this guy came in and he was really like end stage COPD. And he kept, he needed that CPAP or BPAP. What's it called? Oh, man,
CPAP.
Anyway, they put it on. He kept pulling it off. Every time they put it on, he kind of came back to consciousness and pulled it off. And one day in the ward round, Cassandra goes, "Listen, if you don't wear this, you will die. You will die. There's no way that you will not die." And he shrugged his shoulder, goes,
"Fair enough,"
like that. And then I was like, "What? Why?" But I mean, I was a young 24-year-old guy, and I was like, "Why would you be okay with that? Like, don't do that." And then. And then the consultant says, "Okay, fine." And he said, "Are you 100% And he kind of kept nodding, and he says, and he kept reiterating, "That's what's going to happen." Yes, that's fine. And then they had to pull it off, and then he kind of just slowly, and I was haunted by that. And I still think about it to this day. Like, I mean, is that a place that we get to at some point where, I mean, obviously when we're young, you're like, I want to keep going. I'm going to keep going for as long as possible. As long as there's a chance, I'm here. But
have you tried an IV?
Yeah. No, I heard it's very uncomfortable.
It's awful.
It's awful.
When I started as a CT1, consultant gave us the opportunity to wear the mask, and it's really like tight fitting. I remember it really hurt because they put it like really tight. And it hurts the bridge of your nose, and it's a bit like I don't sound overly dramatic, but it kind of takes away. It kind of it's like forcing you to. It's weird. It's horrible. It's like kind of suffocating kind of pressure, like feeling. So I can appreciate that having to have that on for hours can feel awful.
I guess so, but I guess what I appreciate about the consultant that he and what I understood then was like when you do lay it out, because
Yeah.
they kept shoving it back on him, and when he laid it out and said this is how it's going, and then when the patient made that decision, then he was like, okay, fine,
Yeah.
and I mean that's what I feel nowadays. Like I still remember that, it still haunts me a bit, but it's also the learning point for me anyway. Is that if you just come straight out and just say, look, this is what we're doing, this is why we're doing it.
Yeah.
I do very minor things really, like the injections, and if they fail, I've got to try again, and I explain, look, this didn't work. If you want, I can try it again, but it didn't work. It was quite a difficult procedure. And I would say actually 9 times out of 10, people are actually cool with me trying again, even though I might have fumbled up the last one and it was painful for them, but they hopefully see the benefit of what we're trying to do and the intentions behind it. But yes, I found that quite difficult.
Fair enough.
Talking about difficult choices, I think Ollie Burton made, he's got quite the YouTube following from what I can see. He check out his video, it's quite good actually. Anyway, so surgeons are playing a very bold game, making the applicants do the same exam that can get them a radiology training number instead. Yes. What do you think of this one, Trusha? How do you feel from watching from the other end, from afar?
From afar,
far away from the battlegrounds.
The thing is that I saw one of my colleagues was talking about it, and it was kind of sprung up on them fairly late on. So I think it was kind of, that was a real kind of kick in the teeth, putting the effort into MRCS and then kind of feeling like it might not necessarily have the value that they thought it would. I think it just kind of is just another example of treating trainees like crap. And I just think it's kind of interesting because what do they think will happen if they're encouraging people to do a radiology exam? Like, are they not worried that they'll just lose trainees to radiology?
Well, I do hope they do lose trainees to
radiology. I know, but like it's a bit of a
idea.
Yeah, absolutely. But...
Well, I mean, look, for me, it's always a bit like, well, obviously, my priorities is to do as little as possible. And when you look at surgeons, they're doing quite a lot. And I don't want to be doing a lot. Like, I don't want to be doing any of those things. So if you're going to give someone the same entrance exams and at some point say, okay, so these are the futures that you now have, 5 years to 6 years, and you'll be a consultant. You'll be sitting on your bum and reporting and finishing at decent times. Or you can spend a decade doing your PhDs and, running up and down the country and vying for surgery. I don't know. To me, it's a very straightforward choice. It really is. But I guess what they don't want is to really ask people those questions. They want to, but then what I'd also say is that if surgery was so compelling, then who cares? I mean, the surgeons who want to be surgeons anyway. It doesn't matter. And people who are kind of teetering is probably the best thing for them instead of wasting however many years going down a road that they're not going to enjoy, right?
Yeah.
So I didn't think it was that bad. And more radiologists better, personally.
Yeah.
Yes, love it.
Yeah, fair enough. It just seems like such an odd decision. It kind of makes you wonder, like, what was going through their minds. Can you think of like a good reason from the surgeon's perspective to do that?
Laziness.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. As in, it's just easier, isn't it? Just have to say, have you never been in the situations like, listen, I don't really know what we're doing here. What are you doing over there? Yeah. Radiologists are like putting all together. Like, no, we're just going to use whatever they're doing. Whatever they're doing, we're going to use too. So yeah, we'll just make it equivalent. It's fine, like whatever. And then they'll take. I mean, that's kind of me being a bit cynical, maybe, but that's what I felt. Just like, it's easier, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough.
It's like when you get an audit and you just copy the last year's audit. Once I was actually doing an audit, and then a consultant gave me a copy of someone else's another consultant's audit, and said you can base it off this one. I didn't just base it off that one. I pretty much used all the same diagrams, a lot of the same slides. What I didn't realize is that consultant was going to turn up and present like an up-to-date version of his audit. It was so embarrassing.
No.
He did his one, and it turned out that basically 10, 15 of our slides were exactly the same.
What happened? Did you present it? You presented it?
I presented it. I thought, you know what? I'm going to do it to see what happens.
What happens? No.
Yeah, he laughed. He just laughed, and I sat down after the presentation. He goes, "That looked familiar, didn't it?" And I was like, yeah. There you go.
Oh my god! No way! How did you do it with a straight face? Did you do it with a straight face? Were you not like?
I don't do many things with a straight face.
Oh man! How long ago was this? I'm cringing for you now. Like it still hurts.
It must have been like ST3 radiology or something to do with parathyroid detection in sestamibes scans. It was the most boring stuff. Yeah, it was literally like. Yeah, when he's presenting, it's like, oh no, great, here we go. And then he's like, Imran, you next. Like, I literally said, some of these slides may look a bit familiar.
Oh, did you? You get them?
I'm going to go through them anyway. Yeah. So, and then they just start going through, and you could just see, when you presenting, you see people's face like, oh, he hasn't even changed the font. He hasn't even bothered to.
That's so amazing. That's so amazing.
Yeah, maybe when I talk over these podcasts, I realize maybe that's why I got into so much trouble.
Man,
all those
God,
years
you
ago.
had form,
Sorry to make you cringe.
Jesus.
Did your balls go in?
Yeah. I need some more of that stuff. Yeah. Where is it?
Yeah, you need some more crop preserver. That's
God. Shall we? I mean, there are like quite a few kind of sad topics to kind of go through, or at least kind of like difficult ones. I feel like we should read one where so it's at Dr. TADM. And he goes, I once got shouted at for not doing a discharge 20 minutes into my shift, whilst I was managing a medical emergency. I said I would get to it after, and I heard Datix as they walked away in a huff. The way F1s are talked to, treated is disgusting. I want out. And I can see why you might feel that way, like when people get so irate about discharge letters, as important as it is maintaining flow and stuff.
Yeah. I mean, the number of times I've said I want out. I mean, that kind of relates to another tweet from Hamza Ikhlaq, and he said, crying in the hospital toilets and having the consultant who made you cry walk in is a new low of med school. When he said low of med school, I thought, you're a med student. That's even worse, no? I'm making a med student cry. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not that it's good to make anyone cry, but like, I don't know.
Like a med student is just like, it's like, it's kind of like, I don't know, hitting like a defenseless animal. Like they literally mean no harm to you. They come to the ward, and if you walk in a direction, they no doubt will move out of the way. The only thing that they want to do is perhaps listen to stuff that you have to teach, or they want to watch you do stuff. Like they literally offer no threat to you. So like being a dick to a medical student makes absolutely no logical sense. It makes no sense. And the only things that, like sometimes you're going to be busy and maybe you just don't feel like you have time for them, even though like, part of the way we're paid is supposed to, it comes from like the medical school or whatever, like, and, you should see it as these are going to be your future colleagues and stuff, but it's not always possible to give them your time. I get that, but there's still no excuse to be a prick to them. And when I saw this thread, I really felt for him, because I remembered a time when we were at the Free as a medical student, and I used to find it really difficult to kind of go to the wards and turn up for bedside teaching, because I found that whole process of standing in a line and having someone go, what's the differential diagnosis? And no matter which end of the line I stood on, I'd be the one who just didn't know that last differential diagnosis or whatever. I just didn't have the answers, and I found it just really, really tough. And I remember this particular I'd had this particular bedside teaching. I'd been to the one before and thought I was doing quite well, like it was on gastroenterology, and it was the second one. It was with a different registrar this time, and he completely annihilated me. And in retrospect, I realized now I was in a firm and it was all girls, and he just totally just wanted to make a bit of a scene, and just I feel like he was just kind of grandstanding in a bit, and he was just openly mocking me for like no reason. Like everything I said, he was kind of just belittling, and it left me kind of feeling really just stupid afterwards. And it's not, and to a point where I felt actively nervous of going to that ward in case I came across this person again, as I felt utterly humiliated. But like, I guess kind of I'm proud of young me at the time for emailing the registrar from the first teaching where I thought I'd kind of done well. And I said to him, look, this is the situation I'm in. Like, I'm sorry I haven't turned up for any more teachings. It's because I had this kind of awful experience with this. And he replied saying, oh, like when I was at medical school, I didn't pass this exam and found this hard. And he just kind of like empathized with me and said, look, from our experience, I thought you did really well. I think it's, if you can like come to the next one, that's where I'm teaching and blah. And but I remember thinking, I did teach me a lesson in that I knew that, well, that it made me realize that the way that person behaved towards me was just for them, an opportunity for them to feel powerful, and to treat someone who offers no threat to you in that way to make yourself feel powerful. That's often a massive sign of weakness. And so I know in retrospect that guy must have been a total loser to kind of want to make a medical student feel that bad. So obviously that says so much about him and so little about me. And I realize that in retrospect. And I do often think about that when I see medical students on the ward. So in some ways that dickhead has made me like a better person towards medical students. I have to thank him for that. But I hope he still like steps on Legos fairly frequently.
It's true that I completely agree with all your sentiments, mate. I mean, it's I don't know. It's just cannon fodder. Why would you do something like that? It's very easy to go for the person that's got no authority, can't say anything back to you. It's not, it's very difficult for someone like that to come back at you. And I just think it's such an unfortunate situation to first of all find yourself crying and then bump into the person that made you feel like that in the first place. I mean, that's just horrendous, isn't it? It's just horrendous. Yeah, I hated those situations. I think I do remember a couple of those and even during my training where the consultant was very, very unreasonable with me, and then we end up having to. I think I might have even been bickering about them later, and they turned out to be like not far from me in the canteen.
Yeah,
when I might have been saying a few things, but I don't know.
It makes you wonder though,
yeah.
if they realise, like, say if they heard you or whatever, like if they realise that they're the villain in someone's story, and how that must feel, and whether they're just like, oh, and how they can like rationalise that kind of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. You just assume that they think they're awesome, and it doesn't really matter anyway. Like, who cares what they think, and move on, isn't it? Like, I don't know what goes through these people's heads. I just couldn't do it to anyone else, but that's the way I think these people are.
One kind of like message, if we can kind of give something away, is that sometimes for a person, the biggest battle in the world might have been for them to get out of bed and turn up to work that morning. And you've made their next time they go through that battle so much harder by being an arsehole. So like, and so if you think about how much people sometimes are going through just to get to that situation, and then you'd like, maybe then you can be a bit less of a dick about it, I guess.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean, speaking of questionable personalities, we had Sepsis. Yeah, and he was being subtweeted quite a lot, I think. Yeah. And I enjoyed a lot of the subtweets. Thank you very much this week, Twitter. Yeah. But I'll read out what he said. While I'm at it, I might as well say it. I think there are some health professionals who really don't want this whole thing to stop because it has defined them. There, I've said it. I'm sorry to all the wonderful health professionals out there. I don't mean you. What on earth is he chatting about, Srisha? Explain.
The thing is that...
What is he ever talking about, this guy?
I don't know. He's the guy who did that really terrible like apology video. And the thing is... It
was a while ago.
But yeah. And the thing is that they're these people who I think it's quite transparent what they're trying to become a figurehead of. And I guess that's why he gets the responses that he does, because people see through it and they realise that this person they are unserious people. So... I guess when your Twitter handle is @SepsisUK, and that's what you want to focus on, whatever, that's like the string to your bow. But I think this person's kind of branching out from there and is kind of going down the COVID skeptics route. And it's just kind of interesting to see, because on the I think it's quite a sophisticated but not terribly clever way of playing, which is where the words that he's tweeted. So whilst I'm like, he kind of says, oh, I'm sorry to the wonderful health professionals out there. So it's so like plausible deniability is the thing that they kind of will take. And so then if there is a reaction to them, then they can then kind of pretend to be like a victim, like, oh, look, there's a pylon. Oh my God, it's a pylon. But then if you look at the stuff that this guy's retweeting, which is basically kind of anti-COVID vaccine sentiment, and you realize that's what they're trying to amplify. You understand kind of what kind of base they're trying to generate. And so I just think this is a really unserious person. So
I think, it's the desperation for attention and trying to jump into other areas wherever attention could be, essentially, isn't it? That's what it looks like here. And the thing is, we say that it's easy to see, but clearly it's not that easy to see, because we see it with the cardiologist friend of yours that you hang out with, who likes donuts. People fall for it. They've got hundreds of thousands of followers, This one's got tens of thousands of followers. If that was their intention, just to get if their intention was to garner attention, it's working. And it's what I said the other day about, you just say the opposite. And if you want attention, just do the opposite of what everyone thinks and knows, and you'll get attention, because you'll find your audience. You'll find people say, oh, why are they saying that? Let's listen to what they got to say. Yeah. And next thing you know, you've got your following, you've got everything that I assume you want, which is essentially attention, and a big following. And God knows, I don't know, we end up being on a board of some sort of. Yeah. Obviously, I would start looking into what he's up to, what his appointments are, because clearly having that kind of profile, pushing that kind of agenda, must mean that he's got some job somewhere high up somewhere that is equaling pesos. Yeah. Anyway,
speaking about people coming from up on high, OrthoReg at Orthopod Reg tweeted an anonymous email. I think the trust is later identified. Actually, maybe we should mention it because it is pretty shameful. God, let me find it. Anyway, so I'll do the email first. So all FY1 trainees blind copied into this email. Dear FY1 trainees, we have received notification from Foundation School Director, West Midlands Central, that any strike days will come out of 20 days allowance. Kind regards, postgraduate team. And I think there's an implication there. 20 days is supposed to be, I think, that's the amount of time you're allowed off sick before you might have to extend F1, F2. It turns out FY1 is the only year of training now that is not competency-based but time-based. So it's not illegal in the context of FY1. The 20-day limit is a thing. And so it's just interesting to see that that's a bit of pressure applied to kind of stop people from striking.
They'll try everything and anything. Of course they will. Of course they will. They're going to pull everything under the sun to try and stop it from happening, except for just paying you. That's it. That's the only thing they won't do. They'll do everything they can until, apart from pay you, and they'll give you wellness breaks. They might even give you a nice mess room and a coffee machine, but they're not going to pay you. Absolutely not.
No.
Until, I mean, I don't know what it's going to take for them to do it, but I just think that you were going to see plenty more emails like that. And if the strike happens, or when it happens, it sounds like I said before, I'm going to you could write the playbook, exactly what's going to happen. Papers are going to come out with selfish doctors, selfish nurses, selfish people. Why are they even doing what they're doing in the first place? They're going to troll out some random who's got nothing to do with anything, who's going to agree with the opposite side and say, well, you got one of your own lot who's saying this. Why are you guys doing this strike? It's a terrible thing to do. Get back to work. So, and then the trust are going to come out with all this stuff about, they're going to come out of your annual leave. It's going to come out of this. You're not going to get paid, and it's going to delay your training. I mean, that's how they got you. That's why we all turn up back to work. I mean, the thing is, I'm thinking to myself, like, we're only worth as much as we're willing to turn up for. And the fact that we're turning up, even though things are so bad, that training is so bad and teaching is so bad and the facilities are so bad, must mean that we, for some reason, don't value ourselves that high anymore at all. I mean, if you really think about, if you spoke to some of these banking people and said, would you turn up to work for this much, but like £15 an hour equivalent, plus doing night shifts and weekends?
Like,
no.
What? Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Would you turn up to work and where they say you can't have a coffee in public and you got to pay for parking? You might not get parking if you're someone that feels vulnerable going out to the car park in the middle of the night having a post night. Say, no, mate, I'd rather not work there. But then we continue to do so, which must mean that for some reason we're willing to take it. And I have no idea why anymore. I mean, I took it. I went all the way to the other end. I don't know why I took it. Why do you take it, Trusha? It's a promise, right? Of the promised land.
Promised land. Yeah, I suppose so. It's complicated, though. It's complicated. That's the issue, isn't it? But I think the thing is, yeah. I mean, that's a stupid answer, isn't it? Sorry. It's not. But it's. Yeah,
I mean, it's multifactorial. I know what you're saying. Like, you've invested a lot of time, you invest a lot of effort. We all have, and that's what happens. And then also because you are stuck in a training program, you can't just, let's say you did have the choice of working somewhere where they had wellness pods and stuff like that. Surely you'd go there, but you don't have that choice. You can't just leave a training scheme in the middle of a training scheme and go off somewhere, can you? So unfortunately, they do have us by the Manscaped balls. Anyway.
Shall we? We're coming up to time.
Okay, cool.
Shall we?
Was there anything else you want to do?
Well, should we do the festival?
This festival was a bit sad, wasn't it? I don't know why you picked it up, but go on. I mean,
you picked it up. You picked it up, mate.
Yeah. Okay. So when I stay in hotels alone, I always mix the various fruit juices in a single glass at breakfast. It's what my kids would do, and I miss them when I'm away.
Yeah, that's cute.
It is cute. Are you like that, Trusha?
Do I mix it? That's crazy. It's crazy stuff. I don't do that.
No, but as in you kind of, I do find myself walking around and be like, you know what, Thing would like that. My kid would like that.
Yeah, I do.
My kid would really enjoy that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I even tell my wife, I think Thing would really enjoy that. That's what that goes through your head when you walk around.
I definitely do that thing where, like, you spend, especially if, like, Joe's at work, like, the day for me becomes really regimented. Like, oh, they have to eat at this time. The food's, like, Aaron's having his, okay, got to get his lunch ready for when he does wake up, he's having it now. Okay, let's have his bath, this, that, and then they're in bed, like, at this time, right. And then when they're asleep, I'm like, oh, they're so cute when they sleep. Maybe I should wake them up. Like, it's kind of really good. So I spend all of that day trying to tire them out and get them to bed. And I'm like, oh, actually, they're really cute when they're asleep. But I was thinking you might want to read the other one, given.
Go on.
So it says, it's awful. It's awful, mate. Had quite tight foreskin when younger. I mean, I think there's a lot to pack into this tweet, so they've written it in a kind of telegram way.
Can't pack much, I mean.
Yeah. Had quite tight foreskin when younger. Girlfriend at university used her boobs to jerk me off and snapped my frenulum. And then he's qualified what that is, helpfully. Bit of skin attaching bell end to foreskin. Thanks for that, Pesol. Bled all over her chest and her shoes. Oh, wow, okay. Was she...
The shoes.
What?
Okay.
She's standing up? I didn't get it. How did it go on her chest and shoes?
Maybe she's really tall.
and then he goes, foreskin isn't tight anymore. Every cloud, etc. So that raises some questions, though. I just think kind of in terms of the actual logistics of the shoe, I just want to know where the shoes were. How that
must
happened.
Have been on her knees through it, obviously.
She's pretending to be like a short person. Have you ever done that, where you've just like stood there with your knees and your shoes, pretending to be like short?
Not in this particular situation, but okay, yeah.
Okay. No, I feel like I've got to read something else.
Why? No, that was a good one, man.
Is it good?
That was a good one. That was a very good one. Great.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, should we? Yeah, I think we should end.
Yeah.
It's been. I think we're coming to an hour. So first off, we should say a big thank you to our first big sponsors, Manscaped. And please do go check out Manscaped.
Yeah.
2 medics and buy yourself something nice because it does support the podcast.
And you get 20% off. Yeah,
20% off, man.
And then like DM us pictures of like the results.
Love it.
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, and you know what? If we get a few sales, then I think Thrucia will be posing in boxes. with that to entice you guys, have a great week. Look after each other, and let's not get cancelled.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Bye.